Good morning and welcome to another episode of Coming Out with Gabriel Páez. I am your host, Gabriel Páez. And today we have Kristen Rosen Gonzalez, a City of Miami Beach commissioner and mayoral candidate for the election in November of this year. Welcome, Kristen. Nice to see you, Commissioner Kristen Rosen Gonzalez.
I'm so happy to be here, Gabe. I mean, look at this fancy setup at the community newspaper.
Yes,
They've come a long way.
they have, and we have also as well on the show. This is our first show in this studio, and I think this is where we're going to feel most comfortable, and it's very homey. So this is welcome to our new home of our show, and
I love it.
So
I feel
it's
like
great.
I'm in a house. It's great. When
Right?
I started out, they just had that one banner, and I used to come on the community newspapers a lot, especially when I was fighting different campaigns in Miami Beach. So I feel like people in the area know me. You know, I once ran for Congress down here, and I would stand on US 1 and wave at everybody.
Of course.
From Miami Beach to Cutler Bay. I know it all.
Well,
Golden
good.
Rule. Yeah, I love it down here.
Well, again, welcome to the show. You've been a commissioner for
a very long time. I
Seems that
first
way.
got elected in 2015 and then had a couple losses. 2019, I ran for Congress, which I really, in retrospect, should have never done. But you live and learn, right?
But was that really a loss? Didn't you learn a lot from that campaign that has...
I learned a lot about the federal system, and it is tough. And it is all about, media and raising money, and it's very hard. I tried to do a grassroots campaign for Congress, and that is something that is almost impossible to do in today's politics. And then in 2019, I ran again for commission. I don't know if you remember.
Of course.
And Miami Beach it didn't go the way that it should have. And I look back at it now, and I think that, in the first round, I had a lot of votes. Then the second round, I lost, but I was disorganized. And I could have run a much better campaign. So,
Hey.
21, I won. So I've been around for 10 years. But even when I wasn't elected, I was always advocating, like saving the parking department, Byron Carlisle. So,
And it's always been Miami Beach related until you ran for Congress.
Until I ran for Congress. But that was great. I know so many people around the county because of that.
Right.
And I have a lot of friends even now. And, I have an expanded email list that people around the county read because of it. So, I send out an email and people are like, did you hear what she said?
Well, good. And we hope to get some viewers out of this relationship.
I hope so.
And so now you're finishing your last term.
So I'm termed out in Miami Beach, and last Wednesday I declared my candidacy for mayor of Miami Beach. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm really excited about the campaign.
You should be.
I feel like I've been the people's commissioner, gonna get out there and wave, and now I'd like to be the people's mayor. So
and what's on your platform for mayor?
I think my big vision is fixing our commercial districts, getting our resiliency projects done, tightening up some of our fiscal policies that we have, and really just creating this vision for Miami Beach that we don't have right now. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but we have vacancies across the city. Every place else is, prospering. You go to Wynwood, the Design District, Coral Gables, and there's all these new businesses. And then you come back to Miami Beach and we're suffering a little bit. So we're going through a transition period. I think it was also because we had a lot of crime, and we got a new police chief, and and a couple of years ago, and we told a lot of people with viral marketing campaigns, don't come to Miami Beach. And now we have to get everybody back to Miami Beach. And I think to do that, you need to have a vision. And my vision for the historic district is something that could be so prosperous, where people are going to want to come and shop and have all these unique experiences and restaurants. So it's kind of like we burned everything to the ground, and now out of the ashes, we are going to reemerge as this tremendous historic district. There's a lot of people that would want to develop what makes us unique. But if you do that, nobody's going to come and take an Instagram picture in a building where they could see anywhere else across the county. They want to come to Miami Beach because we have these buildings. So I'm going to laser focus on fixing Lincoln Road. This morning, I was listening to the radio, and this broadcaster was saying, I was doing some work on Miami Beach, and I thought I'd go to Lincoln Road and go to Paul and Scotch and Soda. And when I got there, it was dead, and both of those places were closed. What the heck is going on with Lincoln Road? So I want people to come. You guys are going to come back to Ocean Drive. We want people to come back to Lincoln Road, and we're in the process of fixing it right now. We've got a lot of cool new retail. We do have new restaurants that are opening, and some of our businesses are super prosperous, like Mila. We have the major food group restaurants,
Right.
but people just don't know enough, and I think it's been hard to come here. Because people say, "Oh, I can't park on Miami Beach. It's too expensive to park. They're going to arrest me on Miami Beach." And so we can have law and order and be completely safe and secure, and at the same time be really welcoming to everyone around the county. And that's my goal.
And that's really where we were before, and it's really sad to see how it really has come down. And I feel that we did burn it down to the ground. We had this campaign that you didn't want anybody here, so now it's having to deal with the consequences of that.
That's how we fixed spring break. It really was a viral marketing campaign, breaking up with spring break. And then we did initial, we got billions of views. And we really sent the message out there, like, if you come to our city and break the law, you're not going to have a good time.
Right.
We will arrest you. And we got a lot of pushback for that initially. But overall, I'm super happy that we solved the spring break problem that we had. I think it went to Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood this year. And I felt bad for them that they have to deal with it because it was stampedes and shootings. But it took years of policies, everything from no big drinks in cafes. We had to regulate the sidewalk cafes. We had to implement curfews. And Alina Hudak, who was at the county prior, when she was city manager, she put all these policies in place. And we took that playbook. She literally put all hands on deck. We had public works working on it, police, fire, code compliance. Every department that you could possibly imagine was focused on solving spring break. And once we did that with the viral marketing campaign, it wasn't even about police anymore. It was just everybody working together to solve the problem.
You were talking about, nobody really, you want to develop South Beach, its historical part, but this Live Local Act really is kind of like, has an impediment there holding us back as to where do we go next? How can we move forward?
Well, I'm not so worried about it for many reasons. We got a last minute amendment. Actually, it was Fabian Basabe who added that amendment at the last minute with Ileana Garcia, our senator. And it said that they have to respect the historic nature. So they can't just come and build a super tall building. They're going to have to go through a design review processes, the Historic Preservation Board. And frankly, it doesn't make a lot of economic sense in Miami Beach because even if you were going to build high, the workforce housing model doesn't necessarily work. We've seen this. We've tried to build a few workforce housing buildings. We gave recently, across the street from the ballet, we gave a company a piece of land and we gave them $10 million. And there's 600 square foot studios that are $2,800 a month. Is that really how people want to live? They don't. No. So we really have to figure out what's the model that works for us. But for right now, we have a tremendous amount of really affordable and workforce housing in our historic district. You can go for much cheaper than we could build new and get a 800 or 900 square foot apartment for under $2,000 across Flamingo Park. And people just don't know that. And by the way, for commercial businesses, we're at a better rate than anywhere right now. And 9 million people per year visit Lincoln Road. That is more than Brickell City Center, Wynwood, and the Design District almost combined.
And it is the second largest zip code, 33139, generating in the state. So let's give credit to where it's due.
Well, excuse me, we have the beach, okay?
Right.
We have the beach, and we also have this tremendous influx of high net worth individuals that really want to live on Miami Beach. We have a strip of beach right now called Billionaire Beach, and it's like 5- and 6-star hotels. We're going to get an Aman hotel, a Bulgari hotel, the Shelbourne. The Shelbourne just reopened as a proper hotel. It's very, very cool. So we're seeing after many years that there is a rebirth, but it also needs to be directed in the right direction. And we have that convention center, the convention center hotel that's about to be built. So supposedly that'll be programmed all the time. That's going to be very good for our economic engine.
Tell me a little bit of what you're seeing on Lincoln Road, like towards the 100, 200, and 300.
Well, there's a move right now to upzone it. Somebody wants 250 feet, like these 20-story buildings a block from the beach. That's really
high.
That's too high.
Yes.
And we had a vote, and I think that most of the commission was supporting it, and I was the no vote, and I don't want to do that. And people get mad at me. Taking those stances is not easy because developers get very angry. So what I'm going to tell people is if you have a low scale project, bring that
Bring,
idea. Yeah.
yeah.
Why can't we do 6 or 8 stories if they wanted to and have a few
And really
buildings?
nice, like make
Yeah.
them really nice, low density. That really would work.
Nobody wants to do that.
And now that I sit on the design review board, by the way, thank you very much for your support.
Okay.
I see it from a different light also.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that building those small units, people say we want to bring families to live in Miami Beach. What family do you know that's going to raise a family in 800 or 900 square feet? What you're building is really transient housing. Because some of the units, especially in North Beach, in those tall buildings, are like 450 square feet. So it's some place that a young kid out of college might live for a year, but they're going to get out. They're going to go to Edgewater or Wynwood.
Of course. And
that's then another big dilemma, the traffic going back and forth, because really the workforce housing has been built in Wynwood and Edgewater and these other places that are prospering. And how do we get people across? And
but have you seen the traffic there on a Thursday or on a Wednesday? It's horrible. I mean, it's great because it's very business generating and stuff, but really to take, to get out and about, it sometimes takes, you got to put that into your travel time because it is heavy and on a Wednesday night, which is great. But
no, I think there's been a lot of building county-wide without planning. We don't look at schools or parks or traffic or parking, and you're supposed to have all these things in place before you build. And what's the result? People waiting on US 1 for, it takes an hour to go a few miles, and that's really frustrating. Nobody wants to live like that. So they're getting bus rapid transit down here, though, and I think
yes,
and Eileen Higgins has really worked hard on getting that.
She really has.
What is it called? The Northeast Corridor? Is that what it is?
And the South Corridor as well.
South Corridor and the BRT, bus
Yes.
rapid transit. So all of that's happening. It's very interesting. The Metro Mover is very controversial in Miami Beach. There is a group of people that do not want it at all. And then there's a lot of people who say, hey, we want to be able to get on, a train. And that's going to be our, big issue. The people south of
Well,
Fifth,
how do you see that? How do you see that issue?
well, the people south of Fifth do not want it. And to some extent, it's such a large movement that it's very difficult to ignore. But at the same time, we could say over 41st Street, you have Mount Sinai there, you have the Fontainebleau. Those are two of the biggest employers in Miami Beach. Could we just reroute it through the center of the city? Because that would make it easier to go north or south. So, I mean, I would be fine with that. But, all of a sudden, you're probably going to have the group of people that live around 41st Street come out and say, well, we don't want it here. But hopefully we can come to some sort of compromise. And that's going to be one of our biggest challenges. Right now, we're building a prototype of a water taxi that we're going to heavily subsidize. And we're having the first one literally built for Miami Beach because it was so successful over Art Basel. Like 30,000 people or something rode the water taxi.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that when we have a water taxi that we subsidize, that's inexpensive, people will take it. So maybe that's the easiest part. And eventually we'll see water taxis up and down Indian Creek and all of our waterways, because that's way easier than trying to get rail.
And but the financing would be is that part of the?
Well, the first things first is we have to show people that it works.
Okay.
And once the county sees that the water taxi works and the city of Miami sees it and the state of Florida and the federal government, then everybody's going to come in and say, wow, look, we can implement these water taxis and they're environmentally friendly, because we don't want to put a bunch of boats in the bay that are, to make it even worse than it already is, because water pollution is one of our issues. So hopefully, electric water taxis, I think we can do it. There has to be a will to do it. The problem is there's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Well, that's
the city, the county, the state, the federal government. Those 4 agencies have to come together, and it's just like you're tied up in red tape. That's why we're doing it ourselves. Thank goodness Miami Beach has the revenue to be able to do this.
Yes, because then you can present it on your terms as well. So, what other
issues
that you see yourself and your campaign really taking on? You said resiliency. Well, talk to us a little bit about resiliency, especially in today's environment.
Resiliency projects. Okay, so those are very difficult. When Philip Levine was mayor, he started and he went out and he just did these projects, and it was touch and go. But certain neighborhoods that he did are doing better than others, right? And Right now, for example, we have these massive projects that started like 8 years ago at $40 million. They're now $120 million, and we're getting them done. I meet every single week with the contractors on these big projects and the administration. And I found that doing that keeps everybody accountable. And we're finally getting West Avenue done. And West Avenue should be done by December, which is a huge thing for Miami Beach. It's starting June 1st. The whole area surrounding Trader Joe's and
Right.
down to West, it's going to be a nightmare. It
Okay.
is. I'm not going to lie.
No, for
And there was
sure.
a lot of fear surrounding it, but we're going to get it done. And that will be the first major project after Sunset Harbor and Palm and Hibiscus Island that we've gotten done. So that will be a big coup for Miami Beach. And that will be right around election time. And I want people to know how hard I've been working to get that done. And we have to do that across the city. We're also, because of these resiliency projects and the fact that we have so much flooding, we're going to have to raise water and sewer prices. And it's not a small increase. It's going to be 9% for 5 years, 9% year over year.
Okay.
Like you say to yourself, well, it's not that big of a deal. But like, you're young,
Right.
Gabe, even though you say you're not young, but you're youngish. Okay, we're youngish, and we
Right.
can, but there's a lot of people on fixed income.
Fixed incomes.
And this is going to kill them. So we've really resisted raising the water and sewer prices, but we have to bond out well over $500 million to do this, almost 700 million right now. And that's to address 20 hotspots. And we have a 10-year plan. Unfortunately, the man who designed this, Joe Gomez, who is now he is now the assistant city manager of Coral Gables, I think. And Joe, we miss you, although we love Brad, our interim director of public works. He designed this plan, and I was really excited about it. And then he left to go to Coral Gables. So now we have to try to rebuild, and we're working toward getting the money. And we're going to address those hotspots in neighborhoods, because what we found is that it's way easier for us to go in and fix small areas that are flooding than try to fix entire neighborhoods, because that turns into something that's expensive. And then we have to value engineer. And the longer we wait, the higher the prices are. And then you take inflation into account. Now we don't know what tariffs are going to do to the cost of future projects. So there's a lot of uncertainty too.
Off the top of your head, what are those hot spots that you're talking about?
They're all over Miami Beach, across Miami Beach, many in single family home areas like Lakeview, North Bay Road. But you might find them everywhere. There's a couple in North Beach. And that's you want to, I know before we got on the air, you said, I want to talk about the Deauville.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why I supported the Deauville. Number one, I had told David Martin, the developer, that we wanted him to rebuild the hotel. And that was really the public benefit, because nobody wants to go back and rebuild a hotel from the 50s, right? So he agreed to rebuild this hotel. And what we did in that area is we had created a CRA, which is a community redevelopment agency. So what that does is it freezes taxes at a certain rate, and all the appreciation stays in the city, which is a huge thing because the county loses money on that, right? So we were going to keep all this money, and the Deauville over 15 years was going to generate almost $400 million. Now, however, because we have a movement and a few people who don't want to build it. I think look, I have voted in my 10 years in politics for 3 tall buildings. And each time, I did it because I thought it was the right thing to do for the community. And this was one of those times. And I really believed in that project because I didn't think it was going to shade the beach. I think it was at 360 feet, which was lower than the Carillon, much lower than the Akoya. And I was planning on driving a hard bargain and getting to like 320 feet by the time that it was done. And I think we could have had these towers that were not so tall and did not shade the beach, and this huge economic engine. Have you seen the area deteriorate since the Deauville closed in 2017? Haven't you? Athens Juice Bar closed.
Yes.
It was there for 80 years. So it's really sad now that politics is getting in the way somehow of getting this project finished.
I kind of avoid that area, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because the businesses have died. You shouldn't, though. I was there last night in North Beach on Normandy with David Sexton at his cabaret called La Poubelle, and it was so fun. Did you ever go to the Magnum on 79th Street?
Of course.
He has recreated the Magnum in North Beach in the alleyway of where Silver Lake Bistro. Do you ever go to Silver Lake? I
haven't, but I keep saying I need to go.
Their food is delicious. They have a great wine selection. That whole area is really prospering. And I'm working on an initiative right now to get really cheap valet parking there, $5. So I've been pushing back on the valet guys. and saying, listen, let us have inexpensive valet parking someplace, because South Beach is like $25 to park your car at our city valet. And I'm like, how can Coral Gables get $5? The design district, $5. So I'm willing to subsidize the valet parking if we can just get cheap valet parking. So you should go.
We should.
Because
yes.
We are
That's
having,
a calling, Ray. That's for you.
yeah. Take him out.
Yeah, right. But with that, expand on what we were talking about. You know, the height, the.
Well, it's all a negotiation and a compromise in this case. And a lot of people were concerned about traffic, but it was like 150 rooms in this high-end hotel that was going to generate a tremendous amount of money and create jobs. It was literally the Deauville, and people loved the Deauville. It was the arches. He was recreating it to like 60%.
So where are we now?
No man's land. Alex Fernandez has said he doesn't want to support it because they'll live local, and he's worried about other height increases. And David Suarez has come out and said that he's not supporting it. Although, by the way, it was a unanimous vote on the development agreement. And then one commissioner comes out with this huge criticism. There was a lot of fear surrounding, we're getting a casino. And I wanted to tell the residents, look, that is a state law. That is not passing. We're not getting a casino there. We're getting a beautiful historic hotel rebuilt. And we were getting all this money for the community too. We were getting $7.5 million to finish the Byron Carlisle project. We were getting another $7.5 million for, I don't know. I have to go look at the list of public benefits. Oh, he paid off our fines that the Meruelos owed, $6.5 million. He paid the back property taxes. So we were getting tens of millions of dollars too. Another park. By the way, he was redoing the water and sewer in the whole area. So that was an added benefit. And I really wanted that area. By the way, the surrounding, it's interesting when you're doing these projects. Most of the people, 100 people come out and say, we want the project. And then afterwards, some people will say, we never said that we wanted the project. So I would encourage people to come out when we have these discussions. So I'm sure it's going to come up for a second vote. And I'm not going to backtrack here. I'm not going to play politics. I think I was doing what's right for Miami Beach, and some people said, oh, you're just doing that. Like, no, I'm doing what's right for Miami Beach. That was hard for me, by the way. To vote for a big project.
Okay.
But I agreed and promised that if he replicated the Deauville, that I was going to be on board. And I was. And I told people I think this is a good thing.
Do we still have David Martin on board?
I think so. I mean, I think he's put a lot of time and effort into it. And I wish that, the other two commissioners that are causing a little bit of, I think Commissioner Alex Fernandez is very concerned about the repercussions of this new Live Local Act. I would take the Live Locals and take them to court and show them that we have historic districts and how this is out of touch. And right now, it really is not the best environment financially to build these projects. But I think he's concerned for the future.
I think it's more of a future thing than an imminent thing.
But if we're looking at height, you have the Akoya. How high is the Akoya? You have the blue and green diamond.
I know, but we should stop there.
We have to stop.
We have to stop somewhere, because if not, we're going to look like Sunny Isles Beach.
Well, not if you have the Deauville there. And that's what Sunny Isles did wrong. Have you been around for a long time?
Yeah.
Born here? Okay, do you remember?
I wasn't born here, but I've been around Miami Beach.
Do you remember when Sunny Isles was Motel Row?
Of course.
Imagine had Sunny Isles done what we're doing with the Deauville and kept those small, kitschy hotels with like the camels and the Aztec.
The Sahara, remember the Sahara?
The Thunderbird. Imagine had they kept those hotels and replicated and renovated them and then put small towers that were not as tall as Sunny Isles and not shaded their beach. They would have a heart and soul. And right now, it's hard to find something that defines Sunny Isles other than tall buildings.
Exactly.
When you think of Sunny Isles, what do you think of?
Tall buildings. Skyscrapers. Shadows on the sand.
Shadows on the beach. But what we were doing at the Deauville was very, very different. So we'll see what happens. People are very emotional. And I think we need to have conversations and not vilify elected officials who are trying to do something measured and the right thing for Miami Beach. And I've come full circle. For a long time, I said no to everything. But look where we are right now. So I don't want to see Miami Beach I don't want to see our character changed in any way, but a couple of projects that kind of need to get done. We have another project on West Avenue that people are.
Yes, 1250.
Yes, but 1250, that building is in horrific shape. Those units are full of mold, and the owners of the building can't pay the assessments. They approached a developer and said, purchase this from us. So here we are. Now you've given us this lovely idea, and we somehow got a homeless shelter on West Avenue because of it, where we have 150 homeless people living, and a lot of single family homes are getting burgled. On the way here, I had a constituent calling me and saying, look, I came home the other night. There was a homeless man on my outdoor couch, and he urinated, and he said he had to call his wife, who was traveling someplace, and say, what do I do? And she said, what do you mean? You have 11 children. You put the cushions in the washing machine. But the point is that he came home, found a homeless man who had urinated. Yes, cars are getting burgled. People feel unsafe. If Ron Book is watching, Ron, please, we apologize. Remove the homeless shelter from Miami Beach right now. It's really important to all of us. No, I am willing to go and have a conversation. Apologize for whatever reason, whatever the county is angry at us about. Let's move forward in peace. Please remove the homeless shelter from Miami Beach. We will pay to relocate them. We have to fix that relationship. And I think that as mayor, I'll be able to do that.
Why don't you think the current mayor is doing it? Especially if he's all about.
I think there's a lot of ego right now. And I think that some things were said at the county commission that the county commission found very offensive. And, and we need those relationships. Those relationships are pivotal. We lost our relationship with Eileen Higgins because literally South of Fifth booed her over the transit. And we can't do that to our elected officials, because what happens afterwards is we can't get things done.
And it is so important to have that relationship, especially here.
Yeah, I can't get street namings done. We got Maddie Bauer done, but I can't get the street naming for Gloria Stefan or Naomi Wilzig, because everything just stopped in its tracks. And if I could, we would go back and say, we should have said with the booing to people, let's not do this, because our county representation is really important. We don't have any problems with Mickey Steinberg, though. And we welcome Eileen back to the beach whenever she wants to come. And I want to have a great relationship I know she's running for mayor of Miami right now.
Yes.
And
do you think that should she win and you win, you could have a better relationship?
We have to.
Right.
We have to work with everybody.
And
these are nonpartisan seats, and the hyperpartisanship has caused a lot of division and a lot of chaos. And I tell everybody that I want to work with them. I am nice to everyone. I am not doing.
And you have come full circle in a lot of things. So
I have, right?
Yeah, you have. So I want to congratulate you on that, because you've really come a long way. I remember, at one point it was either they loved you or they hated you, and now it's like, okay, she has some good ideas, so that's why I'm trying to do a lot of,
come to the center and find compromise. But I'll tell you, in politics, especially where zoning is involved, the reason why people sometimes go so radical to the left is because you might have a developer who's here, right? And the preservationists who are here, and they're here so that they can come to the, middle and somehow compromise. Although Barbara Kappenman was uncompromising, she chained herself to buildings. And so there has to be, love and recognition of our historic district, and that it's iconic.
And one of the things I love about Maddie Bauer is the story that she says about how she used to park under the tree so they couldn't basically cut them down while cars were still parked there. I mean, those are activisms that to this day it's not present,
I learned so much from her. She came to a women's commission meeting in Miami Beach the other day, and we were having this contentious. I had just approved this women's conference that we're going to do, and I said, I'm presenting this women's conference because Maddie Bauer said we need to bring it back the day the street was named after her. She said, if anybody can do one thing, so I immediately put it on the agenda and got it approved. And I was kind of kicking it over to the Women's Commission and Lynette Long, who's our chair, because they're really good at organizing these things, and our office is overwhelmed. And Maddie came forward and she just said in her voice, we need to support women. And that's why we're going to have the women's conference, because women need to support women and we don't. And she sent me something last night about how sometimes men are more likable than women, because if a man is in a position of power, that's considered normal. But if a woman is being, powerful or overly stern or, serious, that notion gets rejected.
Totally.
And Alex Dad used to always say, as a politician, you need to be like a mommy. So, we want women to be, a mother figure, and that's fine. I can lead with dignity and discipline and unity, respect, peace, not so much division, team build. And I think people know that about me.
And
they would tell you otherwise.
Of course.
But it's not true. It's a narrative. Because I'm fun, aren't I? I mean,
totally. You're a different breed. That's for sure. But you know what? We need individuals like all of us. But anyways, coming to a close now. That's it. We come out shortly. What can we say to our audience as we leave them? Give us a...
You are going to see me out with my sign, although my team said, that I don't know if that's mayoral. I'm going to be out on the bridges waving at you. I've been your people's commissioner, and now I want to be the people's mayor. And I'm really looking forward to the next 6 months of just being out in the community and seeing everybody. So you can go to my website, krgformiamibeach.com. Thank you, Gabe.
My pleasure. Once again, thank you for joining us. And until we see you next time,